professional women. I help women that are so busy and helping them to set digital assets in terms of generating income. But today we are on the Happy Women's Show, which is now being broadcast on Facebook, and it would also be a podcast. And I have a very special guest today. And if you're someone that has been suffering with sleeplessness, this is a good session for you. And I hope you're going to get some tips from here that will be able to kind of help you. So I'll allow our special guest to introduce herself. So over to you, Britt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Britt Shefflin. I am a certified hypnotherapist and author of the book Human Dreaming, The Dynamics of Dream Interpretation. And I have been a lifelong sufferer of insomnia, and in recent years have found many tools to help rectify it. So hopefully we can chat a little bit about that today, and hopefully I can share some good tips for you. We lost sound again.
Britt, why did you decide to come on the Happy Woman's Show?
Well, who doesn't like happy women? Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think I met you in a group, and I really liked your topic. I love the topic of successful women and how we can all help each other get from point A to point B and help each other be successful. So that was really appealing to me, and I'm delighted to talk to you today.
Oh, thank you. Right. Okay. So, in terms of, I know you are very passionate about sleepless. Is it sleeplessness?
Yeah.
So, what is your story about that? Because I'm quite sure there are a lot of us here that are listening, and we're having this issue. I just wanted to find out what is it about to you? What's your story about that?
Yeah, so for me, it started when I was a little kid. I mean, pretty much as long as I can remember. And I've always been able to fall asleep pretty well. But then about 2 hours into sleep, maybe 3 hours, I would just awake for the rest of the night. And so sleep was always a big challenge for me. And I suffered through, you get the brain fog, you're dysfunctional. Um, and some days worse than others. But yeah, I mean, some nights I would get 0 to 1 hours of sleep when it was really bad as a younger adult until I found tools that helped me.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Now I can
Yes.
see you. Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I was wondering, how did you manage to work around that? What is there any tips? How did you manage to solve the problem?
Sure. So for anybody who suffers from insomnia, they've probably been told to use what's called sleep hygiene, which is essentially a very regimented bedtime routine. And that didn't really work for me because of my schedule. And I also sometimes I like to stay up late and sometimes I like to go to bed early. And so I just always knew that wasn't going to be the tool for me. So first of all, I discovered that I'm very caffeine sensitive, so I had to cut out caffeine because that was spiking my cortisol in the middle of the night, which is what was waking me up. Also, of course, reducing stress, practicing mindfulness meditation, whatever works for you to help calm your central nervous system. Yoga, any of those things that really make you feel good and calm and better, that is going to help your body be able to rest better, just getting into that state. Obviously, hydration is huge because your body can't function if it's not hydrated. And then also, one of the things that really helped me was just prioritizing sleep and hydration above anything else. So scheduling myself so that I could get enough sleep if I was awake for a couple hours in the middle of the night. That way I wasn't panicking about having to be to work super early in the morning. I was able to push back my timing so that if I do have a little sleeplessness, then I don't have the panic that keeps me awake even longer. So just prioritizing sleep, not feeling guilty anymore if I sleep in on a weekend. And then also, obviously, being a hypnotherapist, I use a ton of self hypnosis tools. My favorite one is the control room, where I go into a imaginary room in my mind and I dial up and dial down things until I can feel myself calming down and being ready for sleep. So I'll maybe
Okay.
set an internal alarm, like I would like to fall asleep in 10 minutes and wake up at 7:30 a.m. Um,
Okay.
yeah. And also, I use it what's called an anchor, a hypnotic anchor, which is for me wearing earbuds, soft earbuds that I can listen to some soft music, or um, LeVar Burton's podcast is great for me to sleep. I love that one.
Okay. So does it mean that, even till death, you still have to use some certain things that will help you to sleep?
Yeah, so I do use all those tools. I don't really do medication. Um, if I know that I'm going to need really serious sleep to be rested up for an important event, then I might consider taking something that would help me sleep a little bit better, but it's very rare. I usually don't utilize any medication. I try to use all the tools first,
Mm.
because I feel like it would be really easy for me to just become reliant on that and then lose the effectiveness of whatever medication I would be taking.
I see. I see. So the idea, because what I'm thinking is, if you have all those tools, there must be a certain period of time where you now you now have a normal sleep pattern. You no longer have to use tools, or do you have to keep using tools throughout?
There are periods of time. That's a good point. There are periods of time where I go months without needing to use those tools. But then, if for whatever reason, if I'm experiencing stress or whatever is bringing my insomnia back, then yes, I will use them. And um, primarily when I wake up in the middle of the night, the self hypnosis one and the anchor are my go tos. And then everything else is kind of prepping on the front end and the back end.
Advice would you give someone that is listening here today that has issues with sleep?
Well, I think that identifying the source of sleeplessness is going to be huge because there's different reasons. So, for example, there are two different kinds of insomnia. Some people have a hard time falling asleep, and then other people like me have a hard time staying asleep. So, if you have a hard time falling asleep, using like meditation or a mindfulness practice at the end of the day might be helpful, or like some gentle yoga to wind your body and your mind down before going to sleep. Because, if you're just a type of person who has a lot of racing thoughts and, just can't turn your day off, that might be a cause of insomnia. And then if you're like me, it's probably more of a physiological cause. Like I said, cortisol spiking in the middle of the night instead of early in the morning when it's supposed to wake you naturally. Um, and so identifying what that is, it could even be nutrient deficiencies. A lot of us are deficient in vitamin D and magnesium. And so just really working with yourself, with your doctor, your team, talk to people, find out what has worked for them, and then start observing yourself. Does caffeine affect you very intensely? So really, just finding the source, I think, would be the main thing to do.
I see, I see. Right. So, this show is all about women being happy, and we mostly talk about the mindset of happiness. Right. If someone is here that has been struggling with the sleep and is trying to do everything possible to sleep, what would you tell them? What tip would you tell them in terms of their mindset to, because obviously it's gonna affect their happiness and they're not gonna happy, they feel depressed and all sort of things. What is it that you can tell them to kind of help to maintain their mindset in terms of making sure that irrespective of all these things that they're experiencing, they can still be able to find some little bit of happiness to carry on? What would
Yeah,
you tell them?
absolutely. That's a wonderful point. I mean, really identifying what sparks joy in yourself would be my first go-to. Identifying what makes you feel joy in an excitable way, and then also what makes you feel joyful in a very calming way. So, exposing yourself to nature, reading a book, giving yourself that self care time. I know that sounds cliche, but really, what is it that works for you? Is it an Epsom salt bath? Is it reading a book? Is it meditating? Um, Maybe even just allowing yourself to not feel guilty or shutting off those voices in your
That's
head that,
right.
yeah, those would all be where I would start.
I know, I love that. I love the last bit, allowing yourself to not feel guilty, because the moment you feel guilty about it, you just keep getting frustrated and you're not getting, you're not getting the happiness. So sometimes it's just good to go with the flow. This is what is happening and you will get over it. And not to be too worried about it, because if you're worrying about it, then you won't be happy and it just multiply the issue. So thank
Exactly.
you for coming. And I think we've come to the end of our show, and I'm sure somebody that is listening, this will be able to help them to kind of manage, their sleep. And if they want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
The best way is probably to email me at Britt, B-R-I-T-T, at brittshefflin.com. That's BRITTSHEFLIN.com. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok at human_dreaming. And those are all great places to find me.
Excellent. Thank you for coming, Brit. And I hope we'll catch you again sometime. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Have a wonderful day.
It's all right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.